to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. We are here to podcast about anything and everything Star Wars with you. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR.KyleJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at RABR.KyleJohansson.us. And now, it's time to talk Star Wars. I am Kyle John Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say hello. Hello. Unfortunately, today we will be without Scott because he is sick with some medication changes and flu shots and all that stuff. So today we're going to try it without him and see what happens. Today we're going to review Star Wars Andor Episode 1, named Kassa. Then we'll discuss the episode, and then we'll have some feedback, which we don't have any, and then we'll talk about a question of the week and see what happens. Again, we're reviewing Star Wars Andor Episode 1, named Kassa. And let's see, everybody needs to remember that this is a prequel to the Rogue One movie. And we're finding out the backstory of the start of a rebellion, basically. This is live action. First aired September 21st, all 3 episodes at midnight. We have a director of Tony Haynes, and the writer is Tony Gilroy and Dan Gilroy, which they're becoming pretty popular. People like what they do. They're the same writers and directors that did Rogue One as well. Of course, we've got Diego Luna and a few other people. And the timeline here we need to remember is 5 before the Battle of Yavin to the Battle of Yavin. So always remember, Battle of Yavin is when the first Death Star exploded. Star Wars Galaxy, focusing on Cassian Andor's journey to discover the differences he can make of the burgeoning rebellion against the Empire. It started filming in December of 2020, and I think they just filmed all the seasons straight through. And we will see eventually K2SO, the really tall robot that was in Rogue One, but I think that's probably going to be in season 2. We might see maybe later on, because he does get involved with the droid manipulator guy, Rebo, or not Rebo, the little short guy that was in the other movie. Let's see. There's been a lot of marketing and a lot of buzz around this show coming out. A lot of people saying that it's a totally new thing for Star Wars, because we're not talking about any Skywalkers in this show at all, supposedly. We're just talking about a rebellion and how it got started against a dictatorship type of empire that just comes in and takes what it wants. And we see lots of scenes like that, especially when we're having the flashbacks to Canary that Cassian is from. There's one scene where, as a kid, he walks up to a mine that's been done by the Empire, and they just kind of devastated the entire, you know, 30 miles around. The whole area has been dug out for mining, and they're still mining. And they abandoned whatever they don't need anymore and just left it all there. And it's basically a wasteland of a hole in the ground that they mined. Anyway, let's get started with the episode here first. I'm going to play a spoiler alert because just in case you haven't seen it, we will be talking explicitly about things that happened in the show. So if you don't want to hear that, then you don't want to watch this or listen to this. So here we go.
Spoiler alert. Danger. You're about to be spoiled. This is your spoiler alert. We're about to talk candidly and explicitly about some TV shows or movies. If you have not watched them, please fast forward to the appropriate section. You will not be warned again because you will be spoiled.
Hey, we're back. This is Kyle again. Again, Scott could not make it today. He is under the weather. I'm pulling something up here because I feel I have some discrepancies in my notes, but let's just check it real quick. Episode 1 with Kassa. And it's in my notes here. It has actually Cassian's middle name and everything. His name is Cassian Jerome Andor. And yeah, these notes are fine. All right, so the first part of the show, they come out and we see Cassian walking down a causeway with lights above and everything like that, and it's a long, long walk. He makes his way down to a leisure zone on Morlana One, which is, I think, the planet that he's on. And he enters a brothel and orders a drink because he's waiting for someone to come out. And apparently this is a pretty high-end brothel. We find out more about that later in the show if you watched it. And a hostess comes out with an afro it's flat on top and it's poofy on the sides. So it's like a flat top, but more poofy on the top. So it kind of goes like a triangle, I would say. And he's asking about someone who is there, supposedly at one point. He's asking for a woman, and there's some guards that are there also that are Empire guards that are on break or whatever, and they're waiting as well, and they're kind of heckling Cassian a little bit because they know he's out of place or whatever, and they think that they're in charge around here, which I mean they probably are. And the lady comes out and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, we were here first." And she's like, "Well, someone's on their way out for you guys, so don't worry." And she starts the conversation with Cassian and comes to find out that he's looking for his sister that used to work there. And she's apparently been gone for quite a while, months ago. And, she gives him kind of some hints about a few things. And he leaves, because he didn't find anything out, and the hostess leaves too. So, he can't do anything. He doesn't really want, anything anyway from the brothel, just some information. And he walks out and starts walking back, and he's walking down, like an alleyway or something. And those guards catch up to him, and they're like, "Hey, you, where's your ID? And he's like, she just stands there, and then he hears a blaster being turned on, and raises his hands. He knows he's in for a shakedown of some sort. And the one guard begins to search him, looking for the ID because they don't want him to pull anything out. So he's searching him, and he says, "Go! It's on the other side." And he goes to the other side, and Cassian kind of knocks the guy over and grabs his gun and shoots him, and he falls to the ground. And then he focuses on the other guy. Um, the gun gets knocked out, and he has to fight with the other guard, and that ends up where he finally surrenders to Cassian, and they find out that the guy on the ground is dead. He killed him. He didn't mean to kill him, but he killed him. And Cassian sees no other way out, and he ends up killing the other guard too. Um, which is not good. That's not good for Cassian right now because he's just murdered two Imperials, and they're going to become looking for him because they don't let that stuff go. Um, so we then later switch to a scene where our new droid that's for the show, which I don't think it's going to be there for very long. I think it's only in maybe 6 or so of the episodes. Because we find out later that Cassian leaves the planet. So Cassian leaves this planet and goes to Ferrix, which is where his home base is, and we see a ground mech named B2EMO traveling down the dirty streets, and he's just going by, just looking and making sure, trying not to get himself in trouble or caught or noticed or anything. And a bunch of big ugly nasty dogs go by. One of them lifts his leg and pees all over him, and he doesn't like that, so he shocks the dog a little bit to scare him off. The dog runs off, which is pretty funny. It was a pretty funny scene. And then we see Cassian has a flashback of his sister, which apparently his sister is younger than him, much younger. I see in this flashback, Cassian's like maybe 8, and his sister's smaller, so she's got to be like 5 or 6 or something like that. It doesn't really say anywhere what their ages are. But they see a starship crash into the mountains. And that flashback is over. They just, we see the craft coming through the air, and it eventually boom, and they're all amazed and shocked by it, because they're maybe a primitive tribe of some sort. They don't appear to have any weapons. They're using like dart guns basically that they blow in, and it shoots a dart out. And then we come back, and the droid B2EMO makes it to Andor, or Cassian, and he's refusing to give information to Cassian, but then he shares some of it. Cassian's just trying to get information about his family while he was gone, so he tells him a few things about Jezzy and Femi, and they brought supper to Marva and medicine. And his Brazo is looking in for him, his friend Brazo, which we meet here in a little bit. Marva is concerned that Andor or Cassian is mixing with a bad company and getting himself in trouble. And Andor tells the droid to not tell anybody about where he's at. And he fixes a wire, and there's like a piece of metal that's stuck in there when he pulls that out. And Andor leaves and travels into town, and this is where we meet Brazo. Outside of his work, he tells Brazo to lie about what he was doing last night. He makes up a story, and asked Brazo to kind of adhere to it. They were drinking at his house, and he decided to stay there because he was drunk and didn't want to go out and get in any trouble, that kind of thing. And they and Cassian injured himself while he was drunk. To because he has a couple scratches on his head and stuff from the fight with the guards. So he gets himself an alibi for um, the fighting and eventually killing of those two guards. Um, and then we switch to a scene where we're at the corporate headquarters. The pre-Moore Deputy Inspector Cyril Karin is telling his supervisor, Chief Inspector Hain, about a death of two of his colleagues from the previous night. And the chief inspector knows one of the guards named Kravis, and he was a former commander, reduced in rank. Haynes says that the guy was pretty despicable. And they get the deputy inspector gives him information about a dark gentleman that was asking for a Canary girl at the brothel, because that's the only information they have. And nobody saw the guards get killed. And Haynes turns off the recording system that they normally use and says, "Hey, this whole thing needs to be swept under the rug." Basically, he says, we don't want a big situation here. We want to make it look like we got everything in control. So I want you to kind of make up a story to cover this, so we don't get a bunch of people coming in because of some murdered Imperial guards. And he basically wants them to report they were in a fight at the brothel. He tells them that they're on a planet where brothels aren't supposed to be there, alcohol isn't supposed to be shared, none of that stuff is supposed to happen, and it's happening right under their eyes. And they let it happen under their eyes. So he's like, we don't want all these people coming and looking at all of that. And now we switch to Cassian. He's visiting a mechanic named Bix Colleen at the garage. He asks for, and one of the guys says, "Yeah, she's back in the shop." And we see her taking some parts off of a motor. It looks like she's just stripping it for different parts. Yeah, this planet that we're on, it looks like it's kind of a salvage planet anyway. There's lots of distressed or broken down or damaged equipment around, and they looks like they make money off of getting people parts that they need. And he's looking for a vehicle of some sort so he can take it for a ride. And Cassian says he's already got something lined up, but was hoping that she would provide something. He asks for Bix to help him with selling something. And this we meet the guy Tim Carlo. He comes in and talks about Wobani run and asks Bix if she's interested. Um, and Bix has Cassian sees that Bix has some sort of feelings for him. Um, and Tim asks about some clandestine work. Some back end work that was being secret. And Bix kind of tells Tim that there's nothing about it. Um, then there's a small conversation between Cassian and Tim, uh, and about relationships and such. And there's a flashback again, and we're back on Canary with Andor as a small child, and they're in some sort of ceremony, and they're putting stripes of paint on their right down the middle of their faces, possibly because they're going out, hunting or a war kind of thing. They're going to face some danger. And it's probably because they going to go check out the crashed ship that crashed earlier. And then we flash back, and Cyril, the uh, commander assistant inspector, says they're tracking some ships that are illegally coming into Morlana One. Um, and there's a guy called Nurichi that comes up to Cassian and says, "Hey, you owe me some money. I gave you some money so you could get a loan, and I need that money back." And then he's cornered by a really tall, weird looking animal called he calls him Vetch, uh, which is he says is muscle. Um, and Cassian is like, really, you bring him in, Vetch is selling out to you, um, and Cassian promises that he'll eventually get the money for him. He's going to get it right now. As a matter of fact, he's got a deal in the works. Um, and then we go back to the garage, and we see Bix tell Tim that she's going on an errand. Tim follows her, um, and so on. Bix visits a dealer, telling them that they're looking for a bendy mesh tech filter, and he tells her that it's on the racks in the back. And Bix heads to the into the garage and climbs a ladder where she taps into a circuit box. Looks like some sort of communication type of box or whatever. And then we see another flashback where the children are at the ship now. And they're going in to investigate. And they're preparing to go, and they're taking the trip. And one of the elder children, which it doesn't look like there's very many older people in this tribe. They're all kind of young looking kids and such. We see a few, but most of the active people in this tribe seem to be kids or children. Young aged, 17, 18 or so, 20s, some of them. And we see here that in the preparations that Kassa, which is Cassian's original name, Kassa, maybe a nickname, he's originally left out of these ceremonies, but one of the elders, notices he's looking on and lets him join in the ceremonies in preparations. And then we see we go back to the Imperial Cyril again, where he's got a bunch of analysts looking for leads on the Canary males on Ferrix. The analysts have little information, and there's not much on the census data. It only goes back 6 years. And Cyril is determined to investigate this murder, even though his superior told him to kind of wipe it under the table. And we see, them questioning and talking to other people and to get information. And back on Ferrix, a bearded man named Pegala meets with Andor aboard his transport. Pegala asks Andor if what he's doing, and tells him that he is in the office, and tells him that he refused the ship. Pegala notices that Cassian is swapping out the ship's chip logs, to wipe out any information about his travels in that ship, because apparently Cassian's been using the ship to do different things in the off hours when nobody notices. He's kind of protecting himself and Pegala. Then we hear the boss over the overhead intercom asking for Pegala to come in and explain what's going on. Pegala claims that there's yard rats in the back, and he's trying to take care of them. And this is where we see Cassian ask for the ship again, but Pegala refuses. And then we go into another flashback where the tribe is getting ready to leave. They leave, and Andor's sister Kerri wants to follow, but she's too young. So Andor or Cassian promises to return, and then we see see them traveling into the woods and stuff. Cassian, I think this is where we get the scene where Cassian sees the big mine. And he's overlooking a cliff where it's all dug out, and they've pretty much, terrorized the land. And we get credits not long after that. So that was today's episode. It was kind of short. I think it was like 38 minutes. Let's check that officially. It was 42 minutes. The next episode's 38. Okay. So it was 42 minutes, and it wasn't that long. Wasn't a huge episode. There's a few background things that we learned. And I think we'll learn that the reason these three were released at the same time is they all kind of blend together. They should all probably be one episode, but they go together. So, and I think we're going to find that in this first season is there's sets of episodes that go together. The first three, the second three, maybe the second four, or something like that. All right, so we went through all that. Let me take a drink here, and I'm gonna play this.
We are proud to welcome our latest sponsor, Juan's Cantina, where every first week of the month on the standard galactic calendar we celebrate what the ancients call Cinco de Mayo. Come join us at Juan's for the food, mariachi music, and 34 flavors of margaritas. That's Juan's Cantina right next to the Hangar 94 of Mos Eisley Spaceport. On day 2 of the week is Taco Tuesday. All tacos are half a credit each and enjoyed with our house margaritas. Juan's Cantina also serves the galactically famous Dos Camarones Azul Cerveza, imported directly from Kassa. Thank you again for our latest sponsor, Juan's Cantina.
Yeah, that's Juan Cantina with lots and lots of varieties of margaritas just off Moss Eisley Spaceport. Yeah, let's enjoy some of that. I always love a good Mexican and a big old pitcher of margaritas. It's pretty good to do right before we go to a baseball game. It's awesome. All right, so that was the episode. Um, we'd love to hear what you think about it. I thought it was a pretty good episode. It's not necessarily a fast action episode, but there's action in there. There's fighting, there's running and chasing, and a few things like that. Um, but it's more of a backstory episode, the first one, which that's the first episode. Doesn't have to be, excuse me, action packed, but might want to be to keep our attention, right? So there's that. So what do you guys think about this Tim guy and Bix and maybe the droid, E2M EMO, um, anything like that? You guys have any information, any questions, any feedback, anything like that? I'm gonna put a question of the week out on the website here in a little bit. I'm gonna ask, will Cassian find Kerri, which is his sister, which that's where he went to the brothel looking for her. And I think we find out so far in the next couple episodes that we don't know that for sure. But I'm sure it's something that we'll figure out eventually. That she's either somewhere and he's going to go find her, or maybe she's dead or something. Who knows what it is? We don't know for sure. But I think that this is a good start for the show. This episode or this show is, like I said, completely different. We meet people on a desolate planet that's basically they're struggling for food and everything like that because they're all poor. They're only thing they can do is scavenge and sell whatever they can find, kind of thing. So I think it's going to be a pretty cool episode. So we'd like feedback at KyleJohansson.us. That's feedback KyleJohansson.us. Yeah, so we need your feedback as much as possible. We've got several options for that. You can go to our website. There's a link on the left-hand side, like we said before. That side that will take you to feedback, and it's a simple form you fill out. You put in a name you want to be identified as, and then you just put in whatever feedback you want. And I think it's pretty much the field for your feedback is pretty much an unlimited field. You put in as much as you want in there. We reserve the right to edit it for time. But we promise that your feedback will be included if you submit it through this form. I will tell you that it gives some sort of option to log into your account here, but you don't have to. You only have to log in if you want to save what you've got on the form and submit it later, kind of thing. So if you're in the middle of something, you think of it, and then you got a phone call, you can log in, save it, and then come back later and finish what you're talking about. Otherwise, you don't have to log in. We don't collect any information from this form except for the name that you put and the feedback that you provide. We also have an email address, feedback at KyleJohansson.us. That was mentioned in the little thing there. There's a link on the left side again. Oh, that side. That's for question of the week. Which I told you will be, will Cassian find Kerri? And we'll find that, and I'll put some options there for you. In that, after you submit your vote there's an option you can put a comment there as well. That's perfectly acceptable for comments there. We encourage you to answer the question of the week because that could be some fun discussion. Follow us on social media. You can always try to try to send us a message through there. And we'll, if we see it, please put the hashtag the Rebel Alliance briefing room, and we'll include it in the podcast as well. The other place you can go to submit feedback is this podcast is also on YouTube, and YouTube allows comments on there as well. We'd love to see comments there. We will look through them and answer them there if we can, and we'll answer them on the podcast. Anything that you submit for feedback, we will make every effort to include it in the next episode of the podcast so we can discuss what you come up with. So there's the feedback.
Feedback at KyleJohansson.us. That's feedback, KaileJohansen.us.
Well, thanks for listening. I'm going to play this outro. Sorry today that Scott wasn't able to join us. He, like I said, is dealing with some flu shot, and I think he probably got another COVID booster and all that. So he's pumped with all these antibodies that are kind of making him feel a little sick today. So we don't see him. Thank you for listening to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR.KaileJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at RABR.KaileJohansson.us. This podcast in no way is approved, sponsored, or owned by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. All opinions are solely owned by Kyle and or Scott, and in no way express the views or opinions of their past or present employers. Views and opinions are not supported or restricted by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or any or other use of this podcast and its affiliate sites without consent of Super Duper Podcast Network and its host is prohibited. I am Kyle Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say goodbye now. Goodbye. Sorry Scott couldn't join today, but he'll join next time he's available.